Hello, my name is Cynthia. I thank you for clicking on my video. I'm here today to talk about cross stitch, in particular my progress through the month of May as I participated in the Stitch Mania challenge. I chose to stitch 31 days, so I had 9 previous starts and 22 starts that were new to me. So it's been a learning experience and had some ups and downs for sure. At the end, I'll recap my final thoughts on the experience. And I am a new stitcher, as I've explained before, so I've learned a lot about myself and also about stitching in general. So I wanted to share that at the end. I've also made some changes in my schedule, particularly 1 or 2 at the end, so I'll show you those as they come. But after we last spoke, I actually put in a little more work on Yellow House by the Work Basket. So I wanted to show that because when I filmed that morning, I had only put in a few stitches. This was such a fun piece. I was really happy with the way the colors are turning out. That whole house will be in the yellow. So this was one of the first times I've stitched with silk. I used a dinky dye green silk that I had had in my Victorian sampler piece, and then these yellow and blue silks were from Rolanda on Etsy, on Hand Dyed by Rolanda. I linked that in my last Stitch Mania update, but I just wanted to show you the progress I made because it was one of my favorite projects throughout the month of May that I worked on. So that was day 22, kind of just revisiting that I shared last time. On day 23, I had a new start with Marian the librarian. And I did not have a very good day with this project. I'm at the very, very edge of my fabric, so that's making me a little bit nervous, but I didn't have anything else. I worked on her hair. I did keep her hair gray because I liked that. And then I did the border in a different color. I'm changing the colors throughout most of this piece. Here it is. Marian the Librarian by Lottie Da. And I did decide to go back to the yellow that's charted. I have the Gentle Arts thread called Grecian Gold in my, I believe it's in my Sarah Woodham sampler, so I'm going to borrow just a little bit of that possibly, or I might use a Victorian motto. But I am going to keep her skirt yellow, and her border is teal, and I'm going to use that green silk. That was kind of a failed experiment for my Brenda Gervais piece, but I think we'll be just fine with these Little Rose of Grass. So I'll get to use some of that silk, and I don't think this is going to take very long, but like I said, I had very little stitching time on this day, and I was a little concerned about the fabric. But it's going to be a fun stitch, and it's going to be finished with my other library pieces in a similar manner. So excited to get back to that, and I don't think it'll take that long. On day 24, this is a theme in the beginning. My Friday that I started this was a crazy day. I had my last day at work for the summer, working with preschoolers, and I was really tired. So I just mainly decided that I hate the color I was using on that quilt. And for the watermelon, I was trying to pick one myself instead of using the charted DMC conversion, and I decided I've got to go get that DMC conversion. It's much darker. This ended up looking kind of neon and just not the vibe I was going for. So I hope to get back to this. It's on an Aida 16 count. It's charted for 32 count linen, so it should fit the design just fine, and it's very cute. But like I said, I was exhausted that day. So all I basically did was decide I don't like the color I was using. This was my one whip that I pulled out, and so ready to get back to that with a better plan in place. So not all for naught, but not exactly what I was hoping for. And then also on the 25th, I decided I needed a break. I have 2 other big projects, the Hawkhorn Hollow piece and my Barbara Anna piece that I'm trying to progress through the month on. And so I sort of called an audible and changed my HL Moth piece from the 25th until June 1st. I also did that, this was kind of the excuse I needed, because it's Kismet Stitches, I think I said that right, I'll link it below, is starting a sale on June 1st for this piece. she and another lady, I can't remember her name either, but it's going to be HH Moth for me since that's my grandmother's initials, and it's not a huge piece. So I am going to start that tomorrow on June the 1st, and kind of add myself onto that sale. I also was able to, this is kind of a finished work as far as my hand dyeing. I took some 32 count linen from Hobby Lobby and kind of experimented to get a really big piece of this. I wanted it to be kind of a burlappy color. I used some tan and some cocoa brown, and I'm really pleased with the way that fabric dyed out. And I also added a special laundry additive that makes it smell really good. So I'm going to be stitching on this tomorrow, and I just really decided to give myself a break after that bad start on Thursday and then the bad progress with my ABCs on Friday. I was kind of done. I was just feeling a little overwhelmed and a little bit burned out. So I worked on my other two pieces on my hook run, and I said this will have to wait till June 1st. And because there's a sale going, I didn't feel too bad about it. On the 26th, I did have fun with my Cricut collection piece. It's a kind of 80s looking pattern. I think it actually came out in the 90s, but it just has kind of a dated feel. So I'm trying to revamp it, and I think it's going to be good. It's the Summer Wheel, or a Summer Circle by Cricut Collection. And I got this on eBay. I put it on a fabric I dyed myself, kind of a charcoaly brown, kind of grungy fabric. And it's going to go on a ceiling tile. That's why I needed a piece that was round. So I've put just a little bit on that bird and kind of got an idea of what the size will be like and the colors. And I did change the DMC a little bit, just a few of them. They were kind of more of a country, kind of mauve-y colors, if you remember those from the 80s and 90s. And so I changed it to like a darker watermelon and burgundy color. So, and I'm not going to put, you know, those ruffles and things on it. So I think it's going to be good. I don't know if I'll make it this summer, but I'll hopefully put in a little bit of work on it maybe in July. So that was a better experience on that Cricut collection piece. And then my other favorite, besides the red sampler, was the Shepherd Sampler by Brenda Gervais. And this is a smaller piece. So I thought I might have a chance of being able to get that done before next May. I love the colors and I love the design. It's very delicate. I think I changed the fabric inadvertently. I had intended to stitch it on a 36 count, and I think I actually ended up with a 32 count by mistake. I ordered the wrong thing. It wasn't ABC Stitches' fault, or 123 Stitches' fault. It was my fault. But I'm still okay with it because I'm using one strand over two, and I was really careful to think, okay, is this going to be a good enough coverage? But I like the look of it. I think it's really pretty. I'm not sure about the house. I might mix it up a little bit and do over two on that house, or on that windmill. I guess that's a windmill. If the bricks or anything look a little bit too sparse, I might do over two on that section. But as far as the strawberry border goes, there's only 5 strawberries, so it's not super big. And I was really loving that stitch. It turned out to be beautiful lakeside linen in vintage buttercream that I've never stitched on before, and really did like that lakeside linen. So happy with that stitch. That's again the Shepherd Sampler by With a Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. I had several of her projects throughout my mania and renewed my respect for her and my love of her designs. So more reinforcement of that. The 28th, I had to switch because my autumn Cricut collection piece that was supposed to be earlier in May was too big for the green fabric that I had intended to stitch it on. So I had to regroup, go back to the drawing board. I ordered some Monaco from 123 Stitch, and just tea and coffee dyed it. The green was going to have to be a little bit tricky anyway because I had some leaves on there and I had some green letters, and so I just changed it up and I went ahead and used the tea and coffee dyed 28 count, which I'd already started spring on 28 count, so I wanted them to be the same size. And that's a cat. You can kind of tell that's coming in there, and for some reason this cat, I think it's wearing a saddle, which is funny to me, or just maybe that's part of its fur. I don't know, but it looks like a saddle on a cat. So I want to get back to this probably in June and July, so hopefully I can have it ready by Halloween, because it is, or by fall and Halloween. It's really a cute stitch. So that one was fun and I enjoyed it very much. And on day 29, I'm forever going to remember this with this piece. I'm going to call it the tornado piece because we had a tornado in our town on the day that I was stitching this. I put this on Instagram. This is Rose Cottage by Hands On Design and Priscilla Blaine. I put this on Instagram, but I was stitching on this when the sirens started going off, and my neighbor girls showed up because their mom had stepped to the store and they were terrified, of course. So I had 4 kids, my 2 and the 2 across the street, in our shelter under our stairs. So I'll forever think of this as my tornado piece. I'm going to try to insert some pictures that my neighbors took of the cyclone, because it was an actual funnel that touched down just past our church. In Azle, Texas. So it is kind of a memory with that piece, and I was really happy with the colors. I am changing them. Someone asked me on Instagram, it's Buckeye Scarlet and Brandy. And I was a little afraid that it might look kind of, I don't know, pepperminty or Christmassy because it's red and white, but I don't think it will. I think it's going to be cute. There's the roof line. I wanted to see what the house looked like. And I may pull out that green silk again because it's a little bit of a brighter color. So this one is my second chalk on the home, and it's been a contrast to the first one I did. I showed that in my floss tube number 1 as my first stitch, my first big stitch. I did some other little ones, but my first big finish was the chalk on the home Sunflower Manor. And I think pride comes before a fall, because I was saying, oh, this is so much easier. I'm such a better stitcher than I used to be. And I made a huge mistake on that first rose. So I had to pull it out and re-stitch that bottom part. But I do see the difference in the stitch that I did back in, I think I started it last August or September of 2018 to this one, almost a year later of stitching. It's a really fun stitch, and I think it's going to be really cute. I don't know if I'll get it ready in time for summer, but that's okay. I was really happy with the red conversion that I did on that. So that was day 29. On day 30th, yesterday, I started a very small start on a piece by the Good Housewife that I was really excited to have. Her pieces kind of go, I looked later when I said that her pieces were hard to find, and her Etsy store was closed for a while. So I think she kind of opens it and closes it. So you just have to keep watching on Etsy if you like this piece. My friend Becky from Socks for Mom was also working on this piece. So I thought, oh, that's more pieces we share. We have quite a few. And I have kind of a collection, or an intention to have a collection of Black House samplers. They kind of look Halloween-y to me, just a little bit. I know that's not a word, but I made it one. And these colors are very autumnal and kind of, you know, burnt oranges and golds and kind of 70s, avocado, harvest gold, stuff like that. But I like it. And I wanted to kind of get an idea of its size. It's not super big. It also kind of reminds me of those designs. I think they call it a Rhode Island sampler when they have these kind of pots with the twirling, or with the vines. I have one other sampler like this from Sampler Antique Needlework Quarterly, and then I have another one on my wish list from Plum Street. So I think it's kind of a motif that's common, those pots with those flowers. They almost look like butterflies when I'm stitching them, but they're not. So looking forward to that one. I hope to finish that maybe in the fall, since it's such a pretty fall piece. So, and there's the pot. So not a lot of stitches done on that, but it was a good stitch, one that I like. And then the last one, I cheated just a little bit because I had said I would complete the Barbara Anna Love Never Fails piece before I started All Creatures Great and Small today. Unfortunately, I am still not done with that Love Never Fails piece. It has been a real booger. I keep making mistakes. I had to rip a whole bunch out last night, like 50 stitches. And so I'm just plugging away, and I won't really get going on this one. It is a big piece until I finish that Love Never Fails. Hopefully maybe a week or two out. I'm not going to call it because I seem to jinx myself every time I do that. But I did want to see if 40 count linen was going to be doable for me. And I am happy to say I think it will, although I seem to have mislaid where I put it. Here it is. This was a 40 count linen from 123 Stitch. I think it's called Mallow. Yes, 40 count Mallow. And I don't know why this was so cheap on their website. It was only like $9 for a fat quarter. And since it's 40 count, it should fit with this giant sampler. But I just wanted to try it. I was very intimidated by it. I bought a petite needle. You can barely see it there. One of those petites, 40 count. Is so tiny that I thought that might be helpful to have a smaller needle. And it does take a little more time because it's unfamiliar with me, but I think, or to me, but I think I can do it. So a little disappointed that I wasn't able to really get into that, but I have all the threads. They're anchor threads, and so those are ready to go. Whoops, I had some stuff fall. Those are ready to go, but I will hold myself to that promise that I'm going to finish the other Barbara Anna before I start a big one. I don't mind having a whole lot of whips, but the big ones do sort of overwhelm me. So I don't want to have more than 3 giant projects that I'm working on at a time. So to recap my experience with Maynia, I made a list of 3 things I hated about Maynia and 3 things I loved. Those are probably a little bit strong, but I was trying to be dramatic. The things that I hated about Stitch Maynia were that it was a little bit manic, a little bit overwhelming. I should have known better. I mean, it's in the title, and I sort of did, but I did find it to be, you know, just a little bit much, especially by day 20, 25. I was really tired. That's why I gave myself that break. I also found that I don't want to move on so quickly. I don't want to have a rotation that changes every day. I don't feel like I make as good progress, or that I can really get into what the design is like and remember the symbols and the patterns if I'm moving so quickly. So I definitely did not appreciate having to move on every day. I also found several obstacles with each project. As I think every video I've filmed, I've had one major problem. Either I didn't have enough fabric, or the threads didn't look like I wanted, or my fabric was uneven, or I had picked the wrong fabric. Just lots of different obstacles that I came in contact with that were really frustrating at the time, but I also am going to make that a positive, so hold on to that. The 3 reasons I love Stitch Maynia are that I've learned a lot about the different designers, the way they chart their pieces and the colors they use. Just really had an appreciation for the art form and gotten to experience lots of different designers and different types of fabrics and threads, and it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed that. I love kitting things up. I love picking patterns and fabrics. So I had a good time with that. I also was forced to try things that I was afraid of. I had shared about my Mill Hill kit that I probably would have left that in a drawer for a long time if I hadn't forced myself with Maynia to get it out, really see if I liked it, really see if it was too hard, and I had a good experience. So it forced me out of my comfort zone, out of my box, and I think that's always a good thing, just as growth as a stitcher and a person. And the last thing I love about Stitch Maynia is that I was able to get more confidence as a stitcher after tackling those things that were hard, that I was intimidated, the mirabilia, some of those other things. I was able to get more confidence and realize I can do hard things. I can do this. It just takes a little more time. And that's kind of the other side of that negative I said with the obstacles. I made it through the obstacles. I ordered new fabric if it didn't work out. I scrapped that uneven weave that was going to be problematic throughout the entire design. I met those obstacles, and for the most part, I'm sure there'll be more ahead, but I overcame them. So anytime you challenge yourself, I think it's worthwhile, even if it's a small challenge of I'm only going to stitch on this for 30 minutes, or I'm going to stitch on this for 5 days in a row. I think that's a good thing. So Mania overall was a very positive experience. I thank you for those that have come along beside me and encouraged me and left comments. I appreciate that so much. And I hope that you had a nice Mania as well, that you learned and had fun and challenged yourself. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my monthly recap where I'm going to talk about what's coming up next month and preview a series that I am planning on cross-stitch organization. So again, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time so much.